Hello dear viewers and welcome back to our channel. Imagine tuning in for what was supposed to be a polite, buttoned-up royal engagement, some handshakes, a few well-worn lines about service, a photo op in front of heraldic banners, and instead watching the King of England toss the script, look straight into the room, and announce that the British monarchy is about to change in ways no living generation has ever seen. That's what sent shockwaves through Buckingham Palace this week. No rehearsal. No slow roll. Just a moment of unmistakable clarity from a monarch who knows time is precious. Modernize, open the books, redefine duty, or risk becoming a museum piece. To understand how we got here, we have to look at the crosswinds battering Charles from every side. His younger son, Prince Harry, didn't just step away, he detonated years of grievance across networks, podcasts, a best-selling memoir, and a parade of interviews that painted palace life as rigid, unequal, and emotionally withholding. His elder son, Prince William, the future king, has responded with what insiders now bluntly call strategic silence. No statements. No reconciliation tour. No brothers reunited photo ops. William is said to be deeply wounded by Harry's claims, especially those touching Catherine, and has chosen to protect his family and the institution by withdrawing contact. That cold front between the brothers has hung over the monarchy like low winter cloud, always there, always in the shot. Layer on top the king's health. Public concern has been simmering for months, flaring again when Sandringham's official account shared that July 12 portrait of Charles in the topiary garden at Norfolk, leaning on his worn walking stick, a little thinner round the jaw line, eyes alert but tired. His used sticks before as a style flourish, yes, but this new image landed differently because of his ongoing cancer battle. Days later, at a formal welcome, cameras caught a bloodshot burst vessel in his right eye. The palace said it was harmless and unrelated, but royal watchers read every capillary like tea leaves. Then the whispers. Chemotherapy paused. Alternative therapy begun. Jerson protocol. Coffee enemas. 13 juices a day. Supplements, B12 injections, cod liver oil. Palace medical advisors unsettled. Household staff anxious. Camilla, steady, loyal, pragmatic, apparently refusing to scold, insisting, let him work. Let him finish what he started. A king racing his own mortality is a king who moves faster than the bureaucracy built to slow him down. So when Charles rose to address a room of Commonwealth youth leaders at St. James's Palace and abandoned his prepared remarks midway, the courtiers near the lectern stiffened. He spoke instead of service measured not in ceremony but in impact, of trust earned through transparency, of a monarchy that must invite the public in if it expects to remain theirs. One aide tried to slide the printed speech back in front of him, he waved it off. Watching heads of charities, students, and young entrepreneurs who live their lives in a world of audits, metrics, and open data, he simply said, if we ask you to be accountable, we must be accountable too. That line broke the room. You could hear the inhale. Hours later, far past the time royal press officers like to be at their desks, Buckingham Palace confirmed what seemed unthinkable. Draft legislation is underway. No decorative language about reviewing frameworks. Real drafting. Lawyers, constitutional scholars, treasury consultants. Working name, the Crown Modernization Bill. Details are still moving, but leaks from multiple households sketch a blueprint that would pry open corners of royal life long locked under lacquered lids. Annual public accounting not just of sovereign grant spending but of duchy revenues. Public stipends tied to actual work, measurable engagements, verified patronage hours, documented charity outcomes. An opt-out path for royals who wish to step back without scorched-earth exit wars. Keep birthright titles, lose taxpayer security, live as you wish. Even early talk, pure dynamite in some quarters, of a future parliamentary affirmation ceremony for new heirs, not unlike what some Scandinavian monarchies do to shore up democratic legitimacy. Why take such risks now? The unofficial palace answer: legacy under pressure. Charles has waited a lifetime to reign. He knows his window to shape the crown is shorter than his mother's near-mythic tenure. He also knows public patience is finite. Every feud, every leak, every health scare chips at the illusion of invulnerability that once protected monarchs. Strip away the uniforms and bugles and what remains? Trust or nothing. Reform, in his mind, is not surrender. It's inoculation. Inside the palace complex, the scramble is ferocious. An ad hoc war room staff nicknamed Project Phoenix has sprung up in the Belgian suite. Whiteboards map revenue streams, security tiers, statutory choke points. Accountants from the Duchy of Lancaster swap tables with cyber auditors from the Cabinet Office. A constitutional professor from Oxford drafts language that would formalize what has long been unwritten custom. Heirs are sovereign by law, but the people are stakeholders in the institution that represents them. Security chiefs model cost scenarios if half the extended royal list shifts from taxpayer protection to private contracting. HR teams quietly assemble mental health support for household employees who fear layoffs if ceremonial schedules shrink. Government hasn't yet blessed the bill but can't ignore it. The Prime Minister, publicly respectful, privately wary, faces backbenchers ready to press harder. If the Crown is opening its ledgers, why stop there? Should duchy farmland be subject to the same environmental compliance rules as corporate estates? Should royal art loans be taxed when exhibited abroad? The Chancellor worries investors could rattle if duchy assets become politicked. The Home Secretary warns that stripping automatic security from minor royals will invite exploitation by extremist groups. Nothing about modernizing the Crown is tidy, everything cascades. And then there's William. Sources say he received only 2 days' private notice that his father would go off script. He supports transparency in principle, his own earthshot work relies on targets and evidence, but fears the speed. He worries that linking public stipends to raw engagement counts will reduce nuanced behind-the-scenes duty to scoreboard theatrics. He frets Parliament will use confirmation hearings to score partisan points. Mostly, he resents being blindsided while still processing Harry's public strikes. Aides describe him pacing, not raging, hurt-led over exhaustion. Yet the same insiders admit, if anyone can sell a clean, data-driven, impact-focused monarchy to the next generation, it's William. Irony never sleeps at court. From Montecito, the Sussex camp issued a crisp statement praising steps toward structural accountability. Off-camera, reactions are more complicated. Harry's long argument that the institution needed sunlight now looks prophetic. But friends note the emotional rub. He scorched the earth to be heard. What if reform arrives only after he's gone? Would he re-engage under an opt-in model, taking limited, issue-driven assignments without returning to full duty? He's said to be open to issue coalitions, climate, veterans, mental health if trust can be rebuilt. Trust, of course, is the currency no charter can mint. Queen Camilla's fingerprints, meanwhile, are everywhere. She has spent years cultivating low-drama relationships with civil service veterans and independent auditors, and she's said to have championed transparent financial reporting when others stalled. Staff describe her method as gentle insistence, fewer speeches about service, more receipts. She hasn't tried to rein in Charles's reform streak, she's helping harness it. If you're going to do it, she told one aide, do it properly and do it now. The Church of England is quietly anxious. The Archbishop is in talks with palace lawyers about how any parliamentary role in succession intersects with the sovereign's role as supreme governor of the Church. Traditionalists hear the hoofbeats of disestablishment galloping closer. Reformers say sunlight will strengthen faith by aligning it with integrity. Expect sermons, synod debates, op-eds, and subtle jockeying over language that keeps symbolic headship intact while acknowledging a pluralistic, multi-faith Britain. Beyond Britain's shores, the Commonwealth is watching. Republican currents in Australia, Canada, and several Caribbean nations surge whenever the monarchy falters. Yet paradoxically, bold reform in London could slow some pushes for separation. A monarchy that adapts is harder to dismiss as irrelevant. One Caribbean leader privately remarked that if the Crown proves it can be audited, perhaps we renew, not remove, the relationship. That's the gamble. Change enough to stay welcome, hold enough to stay royal. Let's talk timeline, because this won't unfold overnight. Draft clauses move to Privy Council review, Cabinet will weigh cost implications, Parliament will hold hearings that stretch for months, the Lords will interrogate precedent and propriety, and public consultation, formal or performative, will invite citizens into a conversation no previous generation has been offered. Meanwhile, the King keeps working, scaled back engagements under medical supervision, short bursts of energy bracketed by rest,